Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be once a cheater, always a cheater. Well, obviously one of the things we're going to talk about today is devious and deceptive people, especially with women that we're dating that tend to be less than honest. And I got an email here from a viewer who's in a pretty fucked up situation. He's got a wife of his who lives in another state with another dude and his daughter, and he's unable to see his daughter even though it's court appointed. And despite all this, despite all the fact that she's cheated on him and she's lied to him, he's like, but I still want her back. It's a bad way to go. I ran into a guy a couple weeks ago, used to work for me many years ago back when I was in real estate. He's really a cool dude. Charming, interesting, just funny fucking guy to hang out with. Very driven, very motivated. But his problem is he's just a fucking liar. And I remember I mentioned this in a video or two earlier this year that I did. This guy was calling me like about every 5 to 6 weeks. Hey man, we got to get together. We got a lot of stuff we want to talk about. I was like, all right, dude, call me later. And I wouldn't hear from him for like 5 or 6 weeks. And then he'd say things, oh, we got to get together, man. I got so much to talk about. I need your help. I was like, great. And then we finally, this was like back in February, made plans to hang out. And then I remember the day of, we were supposed to get together. I was like, you know, this guy was always Mr. Punctual, never late, never flaky. Just whenever he said he was going to do something, he would handle it. And then it's like 20, 30 minutes, and he still hasn't shown up yet. And I finally texted him. I was like, hey, dude, where are you at? And he tells me some bullshit about, which I didn't know it was bullshit at the time. I just found out recently that it was total bullshit. He said, "Oh I'm on my way to the doctor. I got sick. My daughter gave me a cold and blah blah and all this nonsense." And I was like, "Dude, you could have at least called me and told me that you weren't going to make it." And I was like, don't waste my time, dude. You're the one I wanted to get together. And he was like, oh, that's such an arrogant statement, he said to me. I was like, you waste my time. You call me to make plans and then you don't show up. And then you don't even bother to tell me that you're not going to show up. And I'm arrogant? So I ran into him about, 2-3 weeks ago. I was going to a place to have lunch, and there he was. He was like, hey. So we sat down and we had lunch again. We started talking. And he apologized for back in February. And you know what he tells me? He goes, oh, I was actually here. I apologize. So the whole shit he made up about his, getting sick because his daughter gave him a cold. I was like, it was all a bunch of crap. I was like, I just thought to myself, why would you lie about something like that? I've known this guy 17, 18 years, and that's just the way he is. I remember we had another guy that actually used to work for us. Actually, he worked underneath him. He was one of his salespeople. And this particular guy was just really neurotic, and he just wasn't a very good salesperson. And his father, this guy I was talking about that I ran into a couple weeks ago, his father was also in sales and real estate and very successful. And he says, you should fire this guy. He says, And so him and another guy bring him into his office, and they let him go. They fire him. And I didn't learn what they really said to this guy until almost like a year or two later. But they basically said it was all my idea to fire them. And he had come to me and was like, I want to get rid of him. My father's telling me I should fire him. I was like, hey dude, he works for you. It's your employee, man. It's like, if he's not getting a job done, if he's wasting good leads, then fire him. It's up to you. And so he makes up this whole, when he's fired him, because they were also friends and he used to hang out outside of work, he basically tells him it was all me. It was my idea, and I wanted to fire him. I didn't want him working there anymore. And it's like, so I ran into this guy that had gotten fired a few years after that, and we were talking about it, and I was like, dude, I had nothing to do with that. That was all his doing. He'd been wanting to fire you for a year. His father was telling him to fire you. And he was like, he looked at me like, because these guys were still friends at that time. I was like, that's just the way he is. He's a cool guy, but he's a fucking liar. He can't help himself. It's like this old Dostoevsky quote. A man who lies to himself and believes his own lies becomes unable to recognize truth either in himself or in anyone else. And it's like people that learn to lie when they're kids and they grow up into adulthood and they're still liars, whether they're a man or a woman. that's just the way they are. And it's just delusional and unrealistic if we think, oh, that person's going to change and they're going to become honest. And so I got a quote that I wrote on this particular topic, and then we're going to go through this guy's email. And the quote says, insecure and weak people who lie do so because they have learned to believe that lying is always preferable to telling the truth. They lie and deceive to avoid what they see as inevitable drama that will be the result of telling the truth. They lie to themselves and to others, thereby creating a prison for themselves. It's very important in any relationship that you only pay attention to what people do, not what they say. When someone learns to lie as a child and they continue lying into adulthood, they are not going to change. They have become emotionally conditioned to the point that they can't live any other way. Lying is a way of life for them. They are no longer capable of recognizing truth either in themselves or in anyone else. Thinking a liar will change and somehow become honest is delusional and unrealistic thinking. When people show and tell you how they are, believe them. So let's go ahead and jump into this particular guy's email. Because when I was younger, I had a lot of people in my life that were kind of like this. Great people to hang out with, even some of the women I dated, but they were fucking liars. But you love hanging out with the person, they were a lot of fun, or you love the girl if it's a woman. But the bottom line is they're fucking liars, and they don't stop. And it's like this particular guy I was talking about a minute ago. It's like, I know this guy almost 20 years. He's the same age I am. He's 44. And he's lying about the most ridiculous shit. It's just, that's the way they are. They want to avoid conflict. They want to avoid any kind of drama. And so they would just tell one lie to cover up another's, and it's like, and then you hang out with them and then the truth comes out. It's like, because they tell so many lies, they don't even know what the truth is anymore. Which is exactly what's going on in this particular email. He says, hey Corey, I just came across your work a few months ago and I'm halfway through your book. Here's what I'm dealing with. I have a wife who is currently with her lover/boyfriend, and they work together at a gentleman's club in Pennsylvania. So in other words, she's a titty dancer. She was a dancer and he is a DJ, but she is now the hostess. I found out back in March that she was having an affair with him since the start of this year. She admitted to it after I caught her with a secret cell phone she had detailing her sexual encounters with him while I was at work. This other guy I was telling you about earlier, he also had a cell phone that he keeps from his girlfriend who he lives with and who also is the mother of his child and who was pregnant with another one on the way. It's just, like, look at that. You imagine the amount of lies they got to go through having another cell phone? It's like, it's fucked up. He says, we also have a 2-year-old daughter, and this is not the first affair my wife has had. Well, guess what? It's not going to be the last either. And this dude that she's living with, thinking that she's going to be faithful to him, this is your wife, and she's living with another dude who she cheated on you with. And this just happened to be one of the guys that you knew about that she cheated on you with. When my daughter was born in 2011, she began a 6-month-long affair with my best friend of 15 years and had sexual encounters with him. Holy shit, dude. I was unaware of the affair until I found out through Facebook. I took her back thinking we could work it out. In other words, I figured it was just a one-time thing and she would change. It's like, this is her nature. She can't help herself. This is what she learned as a little girl. Now that she's an adult, nothing's changed. She's just a better liar. Remember, I said people don't change, they become better versions of themselves. This is what I'm talking about. She's a better, more crafty liar for the most part. Her skills have grown. My close circle of friends told me she would do it again and never change, and to leave her and get custody of my daughter. Well, you obviously have some friends that are actually good friends and they're giving you good advice, and you should listen to them. He says, by the way, we got married in April of 2012, and she was cheating on me with my best friend at the time, which I didn't know. Oh, he was the best man in your wedding. Ooh, hoorah. Oh, man. That's brutal. Some friend. Anyways, after I caught her in this new affair, she filed a restraining order on me the next day and lied in it. She lied in the restraining order. What a surprise. Then 4 days later, she came with the cops and took my daughter from me. She took the toys, the clothes, and everything and left to live with a new boyfriend. I was in Pittsburgh but had to leave May 1st as our landlord found out she had left and upped my rent so I could not afford to stay there any longer and meet my daughter's basic needs. He says, did I mention I lost my job also due to our custody arrangement per the courts? This sounds like a real swell arrangement. So I had no choice but to come home to Miami. My wife has told me that she and her new boyfriend had a life of their own and is not making my daughter available per Skype once per week per the court order. Sounds like fun. However, my wife has never given me an explanation as to why she left. Probably because you've acted like a beta male and a pussy and you let her walk all over you. You let her cheat on you with your best... I mean, she fucked your best friend for a long time. This woman has zero respect for you. That's the real reason why she left you. And reading my book, you should have recognized by now what you are actually doing wrong. He says, the only thing I can think of is that my job did not pay very well, but I was providing we had what we needed. Dude, little secret here, it wasn't your job. You were acting weak and beta. You took her back after she cheated. That's your first mistake. You even married her, even though she had been cheating on you. She's just a liar, bro. I mean, think about it. She's a titty dancer. I mean, I've dated titty dancers that have their shit together, but most of them are totally fucked up beyond all kinds of recognition. And the old term foobar, fucked up beyond all recognition. He says also she pointed out that this guy makes $16 an hour, and in Pennsylvania, that's a lot of money. We have a custody trial coming up soon, and I want to bring my daughter here to Florida, where she was born and raised. However, I can't seem to get my wife out of my head and move on. Come on, man. Seriously? I found your work during this trying time, and it has showed me how complacent I was and had become. I stopped courting and dating her. She showed me no affection ever since she first cheated on me. Man, so things are bad for a long period of time, dude. I knew she was prostituting as well. Dude, this is fit for Jerry Springer. And sleeping with this guy that was my hunch when she denied doing it, and I finally caught her, but I think it was too late. Dude, she's just a liar. That's the way she is. She's incapable of honesty. It's never going to happen. Corey, what can I do to move on and get her out of my head? Take what you're learning from me, apply it, and get your fucking ass out there and start dating some new women. This chick is a fucking Fruit Loop. But at least she got a little girl. The sad thing is, the more time she spends around, your little girl spends around her mother, well, your little girl is going to turn out to be just like her. I have tried asking her the reasons for doing this and to fix our marriage, and she has given no response. Dude, it sounds like she's pretty much done and over with things. She's moved on, and so should you. She seems selfish, and she seems that finances are her main goal with any guy. They just purchased a car together and live in a nice 2-bedroom apartment. Well, good for them. What are your suggestions? Move on or see what happens with time? Dude, move the fuck on. You don't want this girl back. No fucking way. Don't ever take this girl back, bro. She seems to be in no hurry to come back to me as she is content with this guy. Dude, she's not coming back to you. This guy is 36 and she's 24, and I'm focused on raising my daughter, and I have not seen her since April of this year, except for a few times on Skype. What should I do? Well, you should talk to your attorney about that, because I really can't help you with that. He says, thanks. P.S. I'm a restaurant manager and now very successful, and she doesn't know this, but she throws in my face that her and her boyfriend and my daughter are having the time of their lives. Well, you got a better job, and you're living in beautiful, warm weather. He says, we're not divorced as the cost is too high to file. Well, I would divorce her as soon as you can, dude. Get a fucking attorney and make that shit happen. He says, I'm hoping time will work things out. Thanks again. Yeah, she sounds like a real swell girl, dude. You want to get the fuck away from that woman. She's bringing nothing good into your life. You can't have a healthy relationship with somebody like this. It's impossible. She's going to make any guy whose life she is with a living fucking hell. She did you a favor, dude. But like I said, you need to be reading my book, applying what you're learning, and get yourself a good quality woman and move on with your life. And get together, get yourself a good attorney, and get this shit worked out with custody and get the divorce handled so you can move on with your life and not have to put up with this kind of bullshit anymore. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching session. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions. And I will talk to you soon.